Hi, so I'm Alex on Substack because I'm writing a book about earthquake recovery after having delivered one in New Zealand. And I'm still getting used to the technology around here. So you might have seen me once already doing my test run, which I think I might have published to Substack. Yay! I thought I would jump on and start doing some video just because I have been writing articles, and the articles, which are all about earthquake recovery and stuff that I've learned and kind of parts of the book that I'm trying to finish. Um, I've stopped writing the articles, and the reason that I had done that is that I went back to study, and I went back to study to do mental health and neuroscience, both because I just love talking about, like, well, when I read about and then talk about brains and what neuroscience can do, I just find it very exciting and utterly fascinating. Mental health, because one of the things that happened in the earthquake for me was that I worked with a lot of people who were chronically fatigued, and I think a lot of them were really heavily traumatized. And you would expect that, right? If you go through an earthquake, it's entirely reasonable that people would not be in a great state after that. And part of my challenge as an executive coming into that environment was to work with those folk and to kind of get an earthquake recovery done. And that's where my interest in mental health issues has come from, certainly in this context. So, given that I'm now kind of all my time to write articles, and I'm still trying to carve out time for my book to finish my book, my time has kind of been sucked up in this giant study vacuum cleaner, and I thought it would be faster, give or take some, test runs that may or may not have been published to Substack, to jump on and just sort of talk about what I had, what I've learned, just to share and just to be a bit of a presence here on Substack, so everything doesn't kind of go too dead for me, because I'd like to come back and keep building the network of people who are kind of interested in post-disaster trauma, earthquakes in particular. So for a first crack at what I learned this week, one of my first subjects is all about suicide, which feels like it's a dreadfully heavy subject, but there is a lot of surprising stuff that I'm picking up along the way. One of the things, for example, that I learned this week, just a thought to keep people with, is that in the months following a celebrity suicide, there's often an increase in the rate of suicides around the world. So, for example, after the death of Robin Williams, in the 2 months following his death, there were 1,841 suicides in the States following his passing, which to me is still one of those moments that is incredibly sad. And I guess on one level, it probably feels kind of sensible that it would have a ripple effect, because suicide itself doesn't happen in a vacuum. So for me, that was an interesting thing to learn, and a good reflection on the nature of relationships. I don't know Robin Williams. He doesn't know me. Why should I have that impact and that connection to people who are very, very far away from my reality, completely disconnected from it? And that tells me something about the nature of relationships in this day and age. Anyway, that's what I've learned this week. I'm going to try and do this more often. Hopefully I'll be more successful with the technology along the way. Catch you later.